All right, Packets Pet Grooming, 817-448-5480. Bring your pet in, get him groomed. One more time, 817-448-5480. Pet Grooming. Once again, December 22, 2022. And welcome to the Please Subscribe show. Today, it is 27 degrees Fahrenheit. What's the Celsius, sweetie?
I forgot what it is.
There's Linda.
It's cold. Might as well smoke a cigarette, drink some hot coffee.
Not in the car.
Oh my
We're
gosh,
on the
where's your
fun
sippy
work
cup?
train. My sippy cup's in the green thing. And I've got the sippy cup from the dining car. We have 11 dining cars on our fun work train and 23 observation cars, along with this lead observation car. Linda, do you like to talk about the cold weather?
It's pretty windy outside. It was scary hearing noises. And then you don't own your own house, but you live in an apartment. You're afraid something's going to fall through your windshield. It's very, very, very scary. Very, very scary about that neighbor too.
Very, very scary. All kinds of neighbors.
I know, right? Ooh.
In the cold weather. What do you think about Robert De Niro getting robbed?
What I think about is Meet the Parents, the movie. That's what he gets for getting a baby sucking his titties.
All right. Well, we're headed on that fun work train, and it's 26 degrees Fahrenheit. It got colder.
I think that baby's famous now on Meet the Parents.
That baby is famous.
Well, because he's wearing like a fake, breast thing. Because the mom wasn't around, then he was breastfeeding the baby. But did we see the milk come out? What I'm really impressed about Robert De Niro, the cat flushing the toilet. What was the cat's name? See,
I used to know. He was a Siamese Persian looking cat.
Yeah, no, Himalayan has flat noses. He flushed the toilet.
Jinxes.
There you go.
Yeah,
Good
his name
job.
was
Good
Jinxes.
job.
And he trained the cat to go underwater. Because he worked for the CIA or something.
Yep.
And he had an RV that was high tech. And the cat could go underwater. He trained it in aquatic abilities. All right. So today's show is brought to you by Carhartt. One of the greatest jackets in the world. And it's really good for cold weather. And Linda's got her sweater top. And we're looking at 25 degrees Fahrenheit. With matter in minutes, it dropped down to 25 degrees Fahrenheit. We're talking about within minutes.
If I could not put it in my purse because it makes a little ching noise. The subway, they made a note about that too. I only use them. Dumbo said his stuff's going up $20 more too. Welcome to the
Slight drizzle. Good thing I got like a Homa breakfast served all day at Jack in the Box. There's a little croissant. And I got 2 of them. Got another one for backup in there. See if I can kind of show it. There we go. Let's see. It's down in there. And this is the other one, so we'll be having this for breakfast. So we gotta pick up at some place called Yogi or something. But this Jack in the Box is actually brought to you by Carhartt. You can kind of see it right there, Carhartt and Jack in the Box. after doing this for a while, you start to get your own kind of, definitions and vernacular and ideas about filmmaking. So in a documentary, it's more focused on content and about capturing a world that's already there. So you're capturing the world and you're not staging things. While in a narrative, whether it be fiction or autobiography or whatever it may be, it is about staging. So you can do a whole narrative in a studio if you wanted to shoot the whole thing in a studio, and it would be a narrative. You got to find it in a documentary. You've got to discover the things which are in the world. So the difference between the narrative and the documentary is, one, you discover as you do it. In the narrative, you stage it. Now, you can stage it along the way. There's been narratives that have been done like documentary style. And I think Coppola has talked a lot about that. And it explores that whole aspect of a narrative being found. But I think I'm in the right area. Yeah, documentary is a lot about discovery, while narrative is a lot about creating your own world. That's what I was going to try to say. So here's a good way to say it. Let me park in this nail salon right here. In a narrative, it's about creating your own world. And in a documentary, it's about capturing that world. Now, if we go to reality, then in narrative, it's about creating that reality so that the characters live in that reality and that imaginary circumstance. It's a lot about imagination and narrative. And documentary, it's finding that reality. Because even a documentary has its own reality, just like a narrative has its own reality. One is more immediate than the other. That's what I would say. I'd say the documentary is more immediate, while the narrative, it took 5 years for David Lynch to create Eraserhead. And in that 5 years, he lived in that world. Literally, he lived on set, but he also created that world over a period of 5 years, manipulating the world around him to create this moving painting known as Eraserhead. While a documentary could go on, but you would be capturing the world. You wouldn't really be manipulating it unless that was part of the project of the documentary, which you could, but you still wouldn't be creating the world. You'd still be capturing that world. There's a very big difference between documentary and narrative, although they can mesh. I gotta go pick up this food. Yeah, we'll try that. Kind of see the drizzle, but it's hard to capture. Okay, how y'all doing? So I was watching some documentaries. Well, not really a documentary. It was an interview with Cassavetes. Looked like it was done on film and then it was rendered on video. Okay, so it looks like it was done on film and then rendered on video. McDonald, and then underneath it was Cassavetes. So I don't know the McDonald character, but Cassavetes seems to be kind of a free-spirited, liberal, I guess you could say filmmaker that really had a kind of a hatred towards Hollywood. So he felt that all the movies in Hollywood were trash, really trashy, and hated horror films or the idea of, marketing horror films, and wanted the filmmaking experience to be more family. So it was like a family experience, where you'd work on the film longer than usual, even if it was a low budget, and everyone would get to know each other in a personal way, so that personalities would come out in the filmmaking, and the story would come from the people and not the studio. So he didn't like Hollywood, and he did do a movie which I need to see. It's called Woman Under the Influence. And when I first heard about the movie, I thought it was about a woman under the influence of alcohol or drugs. But in actuality, it's a woman under the influence of marriage. And so Peter Falk has a part in it, and some other big-time actors. One of the actors that's actually in it worked with Orson Welles and Citizen Kane. So he used some pretty serious actors and has a high respect for actors. Comes from an actor's point of view. He acts in it too, and wrote the script. He was even nominated for an Academy Award for the script. But always stayed kind of independent, and never went for the whole Hollywood scene, really. I want to say maybe he was filming out of New York, maybe also L.A. I think in the interview, he was talking about L.A. It seemed like a New York interview, but I think it was coming out of L.A. It was a little cafe, or it was a little restaurant. I think it was maybe a corner booth of a restaurant. Anyway, I just thought it was an interesting interview, because Cassavetes is probably a filmmaker that I haven't really explored yet, but a lot of people have talked about him throughout my whole adventure in storytelling and things like that. And I am familiar with his son's work, Nick Cassavetes, and She's So Lovely. So that's with John Travolta and Sean Penn, and Sean Penn's wife at the time. Man, I'm sometimes bad with names. It'll come to me eventually. She's been in everything. I think she was even in Benny and June, I want to say. Or that could have been someone else. That may not have been her. I know she's been in, I think she was in Princess Bride. She was in Princess Bride. But she was, anyway, I think she was married to Sean Penn when they did She's So Lovely. I think that was Nick Cassavetes. That was his son. So I got a taste of him. This was in the 90s. It was a very popular movie with John Travolta in the 90s. And anyway, it did very well. So I don't know if Nick Cassavetes was like, I don't think he was like John Cassavetes exactly, but there was big time similarities. I know that John Cassavetes, I know some of his stuff because when I first started on a video camera, I made a film called Faces, which is, I guess, a common name for a film because you deal with faces. Then I found out he made something called Faces, and then also he made something called Shadows, which is another thing. And then, of course, Woman Under the Influence and many other stuff. So I know that he was very childlike. He kind of approached things kind of like an actor. I know he liked an actor's point of view. And I know that Woman Under Influence has a director in it, has an actor. So it's something that, is probably, he's an all-time, cinematic genius, So I will check it out and see what we can do. We might eventually sometime down the line do a review on it. I got lost. It was complex, so I was going to film more about it, but I'm about 2 days behind on my vlog right now. I'm trying to limit my vlogs. I found this cookie. Well, he was telling me something around here. It's only 14 or something like that. It's like 25 degrees. It's down to 21 degrees. It's at 21 degrees. They don't want any lettuce or chili sauce, or maybe chili sauce. I have to go back and read the message. Something to do with chili sauce and lettuce on the tostada. We're dropping that at the doorstep. Bueno heads.